Hello? I hope all my stuff is working. Is the music too loud? Okay, good. Pickle's getting food. He fell asleep on the couch and then he woke up and I was like, I don't think you should cook dinner. So he's getting me a salad. It's actually really good. It's like a kale, beet. There's like a lot of vegetables on it. There's a lot of veggies on the salad. So, oh, and French fries. They have really good gluten-free French fries. Like the best. It's from a restaurant. It's sort of expensive. We just found it like a few weeks ago. I don't know. Pickle's getting like, they also have a Philly cheesesteak that doesn't have cheese on it. It has like a garlic aioli, so then Pickle can eat it. Like, you know, it's designed not to have cheese. Kale is so good. I didn't like kale for the longest time other than like in a kale chip because I didn't know you had to like massage the kale with oil. Like I had no idea. So I'd be like, how are people eating this? It's literally like leather. It's so gross. And now I'm like, okay, I get it. You learned that from Way. I learned it from a fiber friend I had. She like invited us to one of her family's like get-togethers and she made a kale salad and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I was like, what the fuck? This is so good. I was like, this is kale? I was like, did you like cook it or what'd you do? She's like, you have to massage the oil. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I do like kale chips though still. So yeah, this is a kale salad. And I don't remember what is all on it. You don't rub yours? Really? You eat it just like leather? Higher in syrup. Kale is just stressed out. I'm like sweating. I don't know if I should have worn this sweatshirt. I'm like really hot. Oh, you saute it. Okay, if you're cooking it, that's fine. I'm saying like a raw salad. A warm kale salad's really good too. Yeah, sometimes things just need to be rubbed out. It's the only way. So we're not sewing today, as you can tell. Runny fried. Oh, there is eggs on this salad. There are eggs, but they're boiled eggs. And it doesn't come with any meat. Last time I got chicken and I just feel like the salad was big enough and like hearty enough that I didn't need the chicken. And I got fries. So I feel like it was, and it was like a big salad. It was like this big. It was huge. Like I saved, oh, and there's avocado on it too. And it comes with feta, but they will substitute goat cheese, so I can eat that. So it's really good. I hope it's as good as last time. You're craving salad, but like a good salad. You know, it's funny. We had a salad earlier this week. It was like a chicken. Was it last night? Did I eat a salad for dinner last night? I did. It was a chicken and bacon salad. I'm like in a salad mood, apparently. I am too, though. If I'm watching somebody cook something on a stream, then I'll be like, I need to have whatever that is now. So I'm very similar in that way. So Balner Moon, why aren't my alert sounds working? Didn't you just resub? That you got from the greenhouse? Okay, that sounds amazing. Oh, Pickle's here. I started without you, but I didn't make any announcement. I wish I had a greenhouse. I was actually looking at greenhouses, but like Victorian greenhouses that are like $20,000. And I was like, that's the greenhouse I want. I also want to like sit out there. Okay, thank you. So yeah, there's an announcement today. So do you remember on Monday? Chard, spinach, microgreens, onion, radish, microgreens. Man, that's awesome. So, do you remember on Monday I said this week is either going to be really amazing or really terrible? Do you remember? Do you remember I said that? I said Pickle and I chose violence this week, and it's either going to be great or horrible. Wow. This is a lot. Look at this. You see this? It's huge. Oh no. So it took a turn. It went for the like horrible option. Yeah, it's a huge salad. So we went with the horrible option, and yesterday Pickle was laid off from his job. So they literally said your last day is Friday, turn all your shit in. And these fries don't look as good as last time. So these fries aren't as good as last time. So that's bad. And so Pickle like still doesn't really know like what happened. Like he literally like it was like I thought he was joking. Like I thought it was a fucking joke. Well, happy birthday. I know, yeah, happy birthday. You're now unemployed. I just want like a few months of like nothing happening, you know? I want nothing exciting to happen. So basically, he had like a meeting yesterday. We're now in the ultra heal time. So I was like working on my sewing stuff, and he comes downstairs. So like Pickle does this thing. He'll be like, I have really bad news. And it'll be something stupid. He'll be like, I didn't win the lottery. Or like, he'll say, oh, I have really bad news. And it won't ever be anything that's like really bad news, you know? So he goes, I have really bad news. And I like look and I was like, oh, what is it? Because I'm like, you know, just cutting my pattern out. What?
I think just your brightest, you right?
I think I'm okay. It's a little bright. I ripped my pants, exactly. like, oh, I have really bad news. I have an extra meeting today. No, he goes, I have really bad news. I was, whoa. He did desensitize me to bad news. He goes, I got laid off. I don't know, it might be the same. I got laid off. And I was like, you're joking, right? Like, is this a joke? Like, he's like, it's not a joke. And I could see his hands were shaking. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is real. So that's bad. So basically he had like, so it obviously doesn't matter if you know where he worked now because it doesn't matter, right? No one's gonna like find you. Wow, now I'm really bright. I'm basically an angel. Good. I think it's the same though. I think I'm pretty bright. There, that looks better. So yeah, so he basically, yeah, he desensitized me to bad news, but he worked at MIT Lincoln Lab. So like, but I guess not anymore. Yeah. So he has like a lot of bosses. Yeah, exposed. Like you're gonna be there on Friday to turn your shit in. I feel like you should just accidentally drop it on the floor. That's what I would do. I'd be like, oh my God, here's the laptop. Boom. And just let it explode on the floor. But like, I'm really toxic like that. Like I would actually do that. So yeah, so basically worked at MIT Lincoln Lab and he like there's all these different groups. And so his group, like there's all these bosses. So like every group is like a separate entity basically. And then there's like bosses outside of the group. And then there's like people who are outside of Lincoln Labs who are like paying Lincoln Lab to like do things. So like there's a lot of components and like players involved. And so he's a contractor. He was a contractor. So like he's not actually employed by Lincoln Labs. So he gets no severance. Like it's just like that's it. Like we actually don't even know when our health insurance ends yet. Like nobody's gotten back to him, I don't think. So like that would be nice to know because I have a cavity that needs to be filled next week. So basically like, I don't know if it was one or two of his bosses. Basically he had a meeting and then they fired him over. Well, I don't know what the difference between getting laid off and fired is. Like, it sort of feels like he got fired without cause. Like, it feels like they just were like, yeah, we're not gonna use you anymore. Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't really matter. Or they would have backdated it to April 1st. Okay, well, if we're good to the end of the month, that would be excellent. So yeah, they basically fired him over Zoom. And basically we've been like, you can still get a reference. So he had an interesting phone call today. So remember I said there's all these different groups and there's all these different bosses for each group. So basically he was working on a project. Remember on Monday, he like found an error that would literally have caused like their little spacecraft to like blow up. Pickle shouldn't have said anything. Should have just let it fucking blow up. Anyways, he had been working with a division like head of some other group. So some other guy who is like the equivalent of his boss that fired him. And he was like, he literally didn't know. And like Pickle was their like contact point for the thermal engineer. Like Pickle was the thermal engineer that they were relying on. And so this guy was like messaging Pickle like, oh yeah, like, do you have like this ready? The presentation's tomorrow, la 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 la. And Pickle's like, I'm done. Like, I'm not working here past Friday. And the guy goes, oh my goodness, let's talk. So they didn't tell anybody, like any relevant party that needed to know. And so Pickle had like a phone call with this guy, and this guy was basically like, what the fuck? And he was like, I will 100% give you a reference. I have no idea why this happened. But like this guy has no power because he's in like a different division. So it doesn't matter what he thinks in terms of like Pickle's job. But he was like, I will 100% give you a reference. like volunteering this to Pickle to be like, I don't know what happened. I don't understand. But like, he literally was like, don't worry about anything. Because basically Pickle's bosses were like, yeah, we expect you to like finish out your projects. And this guy was like, no. He was like, no, do not work on it. It doesn't matter. I'm like, this is the reaction I expected, right? So I know it was really the reaction that like feels appropriate. You're stressed. So in terms of Pickle getting another job, so let me close out what we know so far with MIT. What would have happened? So Pickle's coworker Connor, I don't care. I'm gonna dox him. I literally don't give a fuck. He can literally suck a bag of dicks and choke on them. Pickle's coworker Connor, who he's been friends with, like this is his coworker who I'm always like, oh, he's friends with him. He's friends with him. So Connor is like New England. I mean, he grew up in New York, but he's, you know, graduated college from New England. He went to Northeastern. And then he got his first job at MIT Lincoln Lab. And then MIT, if you're an actual employee, will like pay for you to go get your master's. So he got his master's. So it's like a cheat way to get a degree from MIT. Like if you can get a job there, then you can get a degree from there without like really applying. So anyways, he got his stupid little degree and then he's been working there ever since. But he's basically like very well connected in the lab. Like he knows everybody. He knows the gossip. He knows what's happening because he's like very New England. He's like, when you think of New England, I feel like I just think of like a white dude that golfs and that's him. Like, I think he's nice, but like, he's very predictable, right?
These shenanigans won't go without repercussions. These shenanigans won't go without repercussions.
So Pickle texts him and goes, because they work on they're both thermal engineers, so they work on a ton of projects together. Pickle goes, you know, just so you know, I was laid off. My last day is Friday, so like I'll get you the programs, whatever, everything will be updated. And his response, that's actually the part like I think about when I'm not thinking about anything else, is his response. His response was, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And then it was just like, it was just like fluff. It was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. You and Random are always welcome at our house, whether you work at Lincoln Lab or not. What? Oh, okay. So it was very much like I was expecting like a what the fuck. Because this guy he's not like not emotional. Like he could be very emotional and like loud, and like his response was just like, oh, so sorry to hear that. And I was like, he fucking knew. You're still employed because you can't really back up the person. Dude, no, Brenty. No, you totally can. There is nothing I hate more than a fucking shill. There is literally, it grinds my fucking gears. So like basically, there's no way he didn't know based on his response. And the thing is he could have given Pickle a heads up. Even if it was just a day in advance, he could have been like, yo, dude, you're getting fired on Friday. I like, oh, don't let the door hit you. Bye. Seriously, yeah. Exactly. That's basically what they're doing to Pickle. Except they like don't fire people at his job. He did know there's a female engineer this happened to. It's funny because I wanted to quit, my contract requires one. Exactly, it's such bullshit. Like basically they didn't have work for her, and so they like let her go. So I told Pickle Pickle, I don't think you should really tell Connor shit about your fucking models. Just be like, here are the models, figure it out, you piece of shit. I mean, don't say that, but like, he did say he'd give Pickle a reference, so that was nice of him. But I'm just like so mad because it's like, he's watching, I don't care. Even if he was watching, I already said he can suck a bag of dicks. I literally don't care. You know I don't care. You know I don't. Because it makes me so mad that he didn't give you a heads up. And Pickle has a boss who wasn't a boss. When they first started out, they were all three like thermal engineers. And this person has been like elevated to like a lower tier boss. But like we've still seen them outside of work and stuff. And he hasn't even contacted Pickle. He hasn't even been like, oh, so sorry to hear. Like, let me know if you need a reference. He hasn't said anything. It's like Pickle's dead to them. And so the thing about being a thermal engineer is it's a very small world. Like there's not that many people that are in space thermal. Like there's not that many people. They're just not. Like Pickle interacts with like a ton of different businesses. And so like there is going to be there's a very good chance that he's going to be working on the other side with Lincoln Lab. And he's going to be like his new job's thermal engineer that works with MIT's thermal engineer. And I was like, you should just throw them under the bus anytime you can. And just be like, yeah, they have really poor management. Because basically, this guy that's pissed, basically this other manager that is pissed, he's basically pissed that they like basically fired Pickle. He wants Pickle on this project that he's been on. And so now they've removed Pickle from this project and they're going to have to insert a new person, which is probably going to be Connor. So, hi, Suzanne. The other thing that annoys me about Connor is so he's like a salary. So Pickle being a contractor, he can only work 40 hours a week. He can only work 40 and that was it. And if he needed to work more than 40 hours, he would need approved overtime. Connor is salary, so obviously he can work more than 40 hours a week, except he would work way more than 40 hours a week. So now you have one thermal engineer who is somehow getting all of this shit done magically, and you have Pickle who doesn't seem to be able to get anything done, and it's because he's actually only working 40 hours a week, where this other guy, you know, doesn't clock his hours. It's not like, oh yeah, and then I worked 1 hour additional in the evening. Like, so I've always said to Pickle, I said, do not work more. Because Pickle was starting to do that where he would work unclocked hours to meet deadlines and stuff. I'm like, fuck that shit. Absolutely not. Three consecutive streams. I don't know what this watch streak is. It's so funny. So yeah, so basically the only thing that Pickle and I have been able to think about, because isn't everyone supposed to clock hours? Well, not if you're a piece of shit. I sort of am red syrup. I said, because the thing is when I went to school for wildlife ecology, right? This is a huge problem in the ecology field in general. Is people go, I'm only supposed to work 40 hours, but this field work has to be done. And I like it, so it's not really work. And so I'm just going to work 60, 70, 80 hours. And so no overtime. I still work 80, 90 hours. Dude. And so the thing is any job in ecology is never 40 hours. It's never 40 hours. It's more than 40 hours, and it's usually field work. And it grinds my fucking gears even more because it's like you're like ramping it up to be like, oh, well, now the standard's 60 hours, and you're devaluing your work. So like, why do you want to head down that? Like, I get it. Like, it's probably part of the reason why Pickle was fired. But I'm like, your other option is to be Connor, because guess what? Pickle's no longer there, so he doesn't have a replacement. So, like, Connor is going to be picking up the slack. And what is he going to do? He's going to do it. He's not going to say, no, I can't do it. He's going to do the work. Otherwise, he knows he's going to get fired. And it's just like this like slope of like insane. Well, they're not renewing the contract. So I don't know. It's easier just to say he was fired, to be honest. So, because like I feel like they should have at least given him like a month of work. So basically what we think happened is he was working on this project called Lemnos. And I don't know what it was doing. Some space stuff. And when he started this project, what is this song? This is Ed Sheeran. I don't like it. When he started, there were 2 other thermal engineers on this project. The one person like left. I don't know if she got reassigned. The other person retired. So that means Pickle was the only thermal engineer on this project. And they had like complained that he wasn't communicating when things would actually be done. So they were complaining with his communication. Like Pickle would say, I can do this by the end of the week. But then he wasn't, I don't think he was even full-time on Lemnos. That was the thing is, okay, it's very complicated how he divide his time. Basically, Pickle is like a free agent. And they would be like, you have 30 hours a week on Lemnos. The other 10 hours are on this other side project. So not only can he only work 40 hours a week, sometimes he can only work X amount of hours on a project. And some weeks he would spend almost all of that time in meetings, which means he can't run his programs if he's in the fucking meetings all day. And so like he's at home, so I know he's in meetings all day, right? And so basically they said his communication was bad in terms of when because like sometimes he'd say, I can get it done in a week. And then he'd be like, I actually need another week because of all of these things that came up, right? Or maybe there was a problem, or maybe something needed to be changed, because like basically Pickle works on like models. And so like sometimes another person, like a mechanical engineer, will be like, hey, actually, like this needs to be different because this bolt changes, or we need to use this different fucking tape. Like it's insane. It's like so tedious. And then he has to like change the model and rerun the program. And sometimes the program to like literally get the calculation will take the entire night. So he can't do anything. He's just sitting there. I mean, he can work on other things, but like he can't make the computer like get the answer faster. So that's true, Brent team. If it was me, I would have fucked with shit. So so like the people that were in charge of Lemnos were going to be the same people in charge of his next program. And we think they just basically didn't want to work with Pickle. And so they fired him. Show up to work and their stuff is already boxed up. Actually, my mom said that too. My mom said that, like, they have a friend, and he worked at, like, Avi or something, like Abbott, and he showed up and his shit was boxed up. But he had a severance. That was the first thing I asked Pickle. I was like, do you have, like, a severance? Like, how long is a severance? He's like, I get nothing. Can't walk me out right away because they would lose too much knowledge. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Pickle, is like, don't share it. It's not your problem. Like, they don't own the right to your brain. Like, don't give them the knowledge. I think you should just be like, here are the models. You guys are clearly way smarter than I am, so figure it out. It doesn't matter. The one person who is going to give you a reference that, like, matters told you not to work on it. That dude was like, yeah, this is fucked. Don't worry about it. So, like, all these other people aren't going to give you references anyways. So, like, they can go kick rocks. They fill the fired paperwork at the beginning of the day. True, Suzanne. I just wish Pickle's coworker would have told him. I wish Connor would have said something. Like, I just feel like he always is spreading gossip around the lab. Like, he knows the gossip of, like, who's leaving, why they're leaving. And, like, you know, the more Pickle and I have been thinking about it, like, it probably wasn't a good fit for him anyways, like, as a long-term job, because, like, Pickle would never advance. Like, he's in this position and that would be his position for the rest of his life, unless he wanted to be a manager, which he doesn't really want to be a manager. So, like, imagine, like, maxing out your achievement and then be like, well, I still have 30 or 40 years to work. And, like, that means, like, no raises. Yeah, sort of like no increases in anything. I know, Suzanne. I feel the same way, where I'm just like, that's too depressing for me to think about. Like, I'm not allowed in the building because I'm, like, a civilian. But you can go in, like, their hallway, like their entryway, like before the gates. I'm a liability. I am. I said, did you hear me say you should just drop the laptop on the ground on accident? Just, like, as you return it, just, like, accidentally, you should just, like, trip. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I would still smash it. I would go full office space. Yeah, I can't go in. I've never seen his office. I don't know what it looks like. So, like, I can go in the front entryway, and we were there at, like, 5 p.m., and Pickle was just, like, picking up a t-shirt or something for one of his stupid projects he was on. And I got depressed sitting there. Like, I'm not joking. Like, everybody was dressed the same. It was, like, khakis and, like, some shade of blue for all the men. Or, like, not khakis, but, like, dark pants. Like, dress pants and, like, some shade of blue shirt. And the women were, like, wearing a skirt or a dress in some shade of blue with, like, low heels. And I was just, like... And I was watching, like, hundreds of people, like, file out through the turnstile. And I was, like... I don't know how people work here. Like, I don't know how people do this. It was, like, too much for me. I was sat there for, like, 15 minutes, and I was like, I need to leave. I need to leave. So yeah, when we were, like, thinking about his other projects, he was on another project, and it was called T-Bird. And basically he had a manager that tried to throw him under the bus, and there was another engineer who was like, no, this is not Pickle's fault. This is not Pickle's fault. So, but that person has left the lab. The person who hired Pickle is no longer his boss. Basically all these people who Pickle started with have left or like advanced so far. They're like so high up that Pickle doesn't interact with them. Accidentally reformat the hard drive, no physical damage. I did tell him that he could like put an error in his model. Dude, some guy like made a big error, like not even on purpose. But Pickle doesn't want to do that, so that's fine. They're his models. Next, I'll be in jail. So, Hank thought the reformat was our food, but yeah, we don't want Pickle in jail. So, it's a small industry. So that's everything that's happened at the lab. Is basically there's a lot of politics, and Pickle doesn't play the politic game very well. I think he's pretty bad at it because he's just like, I just want to run these. I just want to work on the computer, and I actually want everyone to leave me alone, right? Like Pickle just wants to like do the work, clock out, and have a life. Like he doesn't want to be involved with the social hierarchy, any of that. He doesn't want like the water cooler talk, and I just feel like that's problematic in New England. Like New England is all about the politics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why Pickle doesn't want to be a manager, Brenty. He's like, I literally love working on these programs. That's all I want to do. And the thing is, so this program wanted him to go in 3 days a week, and he was not going in 3 days a week. Like he was going in like 2 days a week. And I was like, you should just go in Friday when nobody's there. So he would go in Friday and be like, nobody talked to me. I'm like, well, that's their loss. You showed up. Nobody was there. And basically they wanted him to go in because there were like specific boomers that wanted to like go walk to his desk and be like, hey, what was that email? And it's like, Pickle just doesn't work like that. So, and Pickle was like, I'm wasting so much time getting ready, driving in, packing my lunch. He can get so much more done at home. That was the thing that like wasn't really like resonating with us. So I just think like overall it wasn't a great fit, and that probably had something to do with it where like Pickle was not, like showing up at 8 a.m. and staying until 5 or 6 p.m. every day or 3 days a week. Because like before the pandemic, basically, so because Pickle was hourly, he wasn't salaried, he would get a 30-minute lunch break, right? And if it was more than that, he needs to like clock it. I think he needed to clock his 30 minutes anyways. But people that were salaried would leave for an hour and a half. They'd be like, we're going to lunch, bye. And then it would be hours. Or Pickle he used to work in an office with Connor, and people would come in and talk to Connor for a fucking hour. And Pickle's like, they're not talking about, they're like literally talking about flying airplanes and shit. Like they're not talking about work. They're talking about hobbies. COVID didn't change manager CEO opinions. I know. Yeah, for sure. It's insane. So micromanaging is their only task. Like, so yeah, so Pickle wasn't really involved in the politics, and basically since COVID, he's been working at home and like never shifted back to the office because he didn't want to. And basically everybody that he had known pre-pandemic that would basically vouch for him has left or is now a shill like Connor. He has to be a shill. So I think there was a few things. Pickle did say I got fired because I wasn't white. He goes, I was fired because I wasn't white. And I was like, that's not why you got fired. And then I was like, I mean, he doesn't fit the like boys club, the New England boys club. And like, he's just like not going to suck a corporation's dick and then want to like go get lunch for 2 hours with the bros. And like, that's very much how engineering is in general. So yeah. Expose. Like, I just culturally don't think Pickle was like probably the right fit. He's like too modern. He's too modern. The Bachelor. What's happening? I'm looking to become a full-time stock trader. What are you about to say? And all I hear is, what are these messages, The Bachelor? Yeah, Pickle, you need to be more like, Pickle can... Well, he will certainly have more time for that because he's fired. So you're out. So yeah, Pickle's basically just like not a boomer. Kiku is not a boomer. He is not like white New England. Like, okay. So I feel like unless you live here, sacrifice. So it's almost unbelievable how New England operates. Like, I don't hate New England, but like, so I had my fiber business before I streamed and I applied to be a vendor at a fiber show. I didn't get in, which is not uncommon. I go to a spinning guild meeting and I'm just talking to somebody and say like, oh, I own a fiber business. And they're like, oh, did you go talk to so-and-so? And I was like, no, why? And they're like, oh, she's in charge of the fiber show. And I go, really? So I go up and talk to her. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm new to the area. She goes, oh, great. Yeah, we can get you in. Are you? I've never experienced that in my life to be like, oh, well, now that I see your face, sure. Sounds great. And I'm like, what just happened here? Like, I applied and it was like a straight up no. And I literally just had a conversation with you and you're like, yeah, no problem. Like, that's a perfect example of New England where it's like, yeah. Lost, gullible, and still thinks it's 1490 true. So, like, I understand that it's who you know, not what you know, but like New England takes it to the extreme. So, yeah. So, yeah, Brenty asked like an hour ago about Pickle being able to get another job. So, I'm fully planning on selling the house, which was basically, this isn't like my first rodeo. There's a reason. Well, there's multiple reasons I don't have a traditional job. Like I was actually starting to feel bad You're playing that game, just meeting you once shouldn't get you. I know, Brenty. I know. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. So basically, the aerospace industry is not very strong here. There are some jobs. There's one that has potential, actually. Pickle usually gets recruiters reaching out to him, like on a semi-regular basis. But they're like, do you want to move to Arizona? And Pickle's like, no. And they're like, how about Alabama? And Pickle's like, no. They're like terrible, terrible locations where it's like Huntsville, Alabama is like a huge hub. Pickle is currently talking with a recruiter and the position would be in Tucson, Arizona. And Huntsville is actually nice, but it's still like so hot. I've never been there. I don't go to those states generally. They scare me. Where else? Seattle. So Seattle's good. Los Angeles. Tend to avoid New England as well. I believe that. I mean, I think most of America avoids New England, to be honest. I like New England. Like, I like Vermont for sure. Like, Vermont's my favorite. Is Connecticut part of New England? I don't even know. Sometimes I think New York is, but it's not. Pickle's dad said there's like some submarine stuff in Connecticut, but I don't know. Connecticut just seems really lame. I don't know. I've been there once, but I was basically pooping my pants, so I don't remember it. Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Yeah, Balder Moon, you work in Vermont. I don't know if Pickle can get a job in Vermont. No, they said it was because I was from the Midwest, that I couldn't handle their clam bake. I was like, no, it's because you left the clams out in the sun for 5 fucking hours. You harvest them off this dirty ass beach. And then I watched you shuck them on the beach without washing your hands. And then you put it in a cooler without ice and let it sit there for 5 fucking hours. And then we went back to the house and we ground it up in this disgusting ass meat grinder. And then you fried it up in wheat. So it could have been the wheat. It could have been the quality of the clams. I have not had clams since that day, unless it was in a clam chowder. But I really can't eat clams. That's how bad it is. That was a long time ago. Ugh. Ugh. It was very bad. They only had like one bathroom in this house and there was a lot of people and I think I let them cut me in line. I think I convinced everyone to let me cut because I was like, it's not gonna be good. I just have a corn chowder. I did not break the toilet. That would have been bad. Tell Pickle to work at a university. Well, that's where he just basically got fired from, so. And he doesn't actually have his PhD, so. He is like all but dissertation, so. He should fit right in. Seattle, Los Angeles. We're not moving back to LA. I'm not moving to Huntsville. I said if someone wants to pay him a shit ton of money, I would consider Tucson. I would consider it. I don't think I would be happy, but I would consider it. Especially because we're sort of like up a creek without a paddle. So, till summer. I'll just be inside. I'll never leave. I would die. It's true. Yeah, everything is air conditioned. I mean, I've been to Phoenix in May and I've been to Vegas in like September. It's almost summertime. It's almost summer. I would become even paler because I would never go outside. But I do like saguaro cactuses. Like, I think they're neat. But I think Seattle is a better option if... So, actually, it's funny because last week at Pottery, I didn't get into an argument, but I did say that, like, a lot of people in New England go to schools here that I've never heard of. Or, like, they're, like, some little, like, private school, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't know what school that is. Unless it's, like, a research university, I really don't care. And I don't know what it is. And they were like, oh, art schools are so good, though. Who cares about sports? I'm like, whatever, it's fine. It's fine not to care about sports. But Pickle has been reaching out to, like, people he worked with in his original lab in, like, graduate school and undergrad. So he already has an application in at Amazon. He basically got, like, they were like, yeah, actually, I am looking for somebody. He needs to contact his other... Basically, when he worked at SpaceX, he left and everyone was really sad. Like, they were like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're leaving? Like, you're actually leaving? And so I think it's weird at MIT right now. Like, it's just like crickets. They're like, you're dead to us. You're still here? Oh, you can still log in? Oh. Who are you? I've never heard of you. Like, that's how I feel. And also, I feel like I got fired from my job because, like, that's the thing about having, like, a single income, really. Like, realistically, everyone's like, oh, it's so nice. It is nice. I mean, that was sort of the whole thing is Pickle needs to work in a city. I cannot work in a city. So I was starting to feel bad because in New England, like, there are a lot of parks and there are a lot of, like, wildlife potential. Like, there's a decent amount of wildlife jobs here. And I was like, I totally could get a wildlife job. And this happens and I'm like, never mind. This is why I don't have a regular job. Aerospace. Mechanical engineer, used for Air Force. Ohio. Pickle. Okay, Pickle, you did go to Ohio. You did go to Ohio for, like, a NASA thing or something. I don't think Pickle will do well at NASA. You liked Ohio and you got a really good haircut there. Got a really good haircut. It was one of Pickle's best haircuts he's ever gotten. It's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. Because usually he needs somebody who has experience cutting, like, Asian hair. Or, like, his type of, like, really, like, thick, straight hair. Yeah, I think that's where he was. And it was actually, okay, he stayed, they, like, rented a fucking lake house, like, on the lake. And they would just, like, play board games. I mean, they were working long shifts. They were working, like, 12-hour shifts because they were testing stuff. But Pickle, this is when Pickle ditched me and I was in LA for 10 days by myself. And Pickle be like, we went kayaking. And I was like, Oh, Plumbrook Station. Ohio. Isn't everything poison there from the train derailment? Yeah, we do judge locations on haircuts. So that's the thing about Ohio is like so Republican though, isn't it? The minds of the addicted. Wait, don't call me out, Balder Moon. Don't call me out like that. So like my biggest thing is I want to go where there's trees, but liberal. Like my family, I basically what happened. Pickle came down, he told me, and I was like, fuck. I was like, let me call my mom. And I was like, Mom, and she was like, what? And I was like, where are you?